The sound you just heard wasn't a microphone hitting the floor, it was the sound of a man's skull rebounding off the steel ring post, and with it, the entire structure of WWE management has been fractured beyond repair. Look at the blood on Paul Heyman's hands. Look at the absolute, unhinged carnage laying in the center of the ring. We thought the wise man was done. We thought Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis had successfully surgically removed the cancer from the locker room when they handed him his walking papers. But a cornered animal is the most dangerous creature on God's green earth, and tonight, Paul Heyman didn't just fight back, he committed professional and physical homicide on live television. By the time this video is over, you're going to understand that what we just witnessed wasn't a tantrum, it was a revolution. The era of the general manager is dead, and it was buried under a pile of broken chairs and shattered glass. Before we get into the graphic, heart-wrenching details of this assault, I want to take a moment to look you in the eye. We've been through a lot together on this channel. Wrestling isn't just a hobby for us, it's a shared language. When we see a legend get humiliated or a professional like Adam Pearce get physically dismantled for doing his job, it hits us in the gut. We are a family here at SLAMZONE, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this journey. If you value this community and want to help us keep telling these stories with the passion they deserve, please, take a second to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this video. Your support is the only thing that keeps us going when the world of wrestling gets this dark. The atmosphere in the arena was already toxic. The fans were still reeling from the announcement that Heyman had been fired. Half the crowd was cheering the end of a tyrant, while the other half was terrified of what a man like Paul Heyman would do with nothing left to lose. Adam Pearce was standing in the ring, trying to restore order, trying to move the show along to the next segment. He looked exhausted. You could see the bags under his eyes. The stress of managing two brands and dealing with the bloodline had clearly taken its toll. But then, the music didn't play. There was no warning, just a shadow. Paul Heyman emerged from the crowd. He wasn't wearing his suit jacket. His tie was undone, hanging around his neck like a noose. His hair, usually slicked back with the precision of a high-priced lawyer, was a wild, frantic mess. He didn't say a word. He didn't ask for a microphone. He climbed over the barricade with a desperation that looked like a man climbing out of a grave. Pearce saw him too late. The first blow was a lead pipe hidden inside a rolled-up legal contract. The irony was sickening. The very papers meant to end Heyman's career were used to end Pearce's night. The sound, that hollow, metallic clink, echoed through the silent arena. Pearce went down hard, his knees buckling, his forehead splitting open instantly. You can feel the energy in the room shift from excitement to pure, unadulterated horror. This wasn't a wrestling move. This wasn't a spot. This was an assault. Heyman didn't stop. He mounted Pearce, raining down closed-fist strikes with a speed and ferocity we haven't seen from him in 30 years. Every punch was fueled by decades of resentment. He was screaming, "I made this. I built this," with every impact. The referee tried to intervene, but Heyman swung that pipe with a blind rage that sent the official scurrying for safety. Pearce was trying to cover up, his hands shaking, his suit the symbol of his authority becoming stained with crimson. The crowd was a chaotic mess of noise. You could hear people screaming for security, children covering their eyes, and the commentary team sounding genuinely frightened for Pearce's life. "Stop it! Someone stop it!" Michael Cole was shouting, his voice breaking. But Heyman was just getting started. He dragged Pearce toward the corner, the general manager's boots dragging lifelessly across the canvas. Heyman grabbed a steel chair, the heavy, reinforced kind they keep for the main events, and he didn't just hit Pearce with it. He wedged Pearce's neck inside the chair. The arena went dead silent. You could hear the heavy, ragged breathing of Paul Heyman over the house speakers. He stood over Pearce, looking down at the man who had fired him, and for a second, we thought he might show mercy. We thought the wise man would find his logic. But then, Heyman looked up at the big screen, directly into the camera, and he smiled. It was the smile of a man who had finally embraced the devil. He climbed the turnbuckle. Think about that. Paul Heyman, a man who rarely even steps through the ropes, was climbing to the second rope, looking to drop his entire weight onto that chair, onto Adam Pearce's throat. The tension was suffocating. People in the front row were standing on their seats, waving their arms, begging him to stop. "Paul, don't do it. Think about your legacy." Pearce groaned, a weak, gurgling sound that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Heyman didn't hesitate. He jumped. The sound of the chair collapsing was like a car crash. The referee finally dived in, followed by a swarm of security guards, but the damage was done. Pearce was clutching his throat, his face turning a terrifying shade of blue. It was a moment where the show stopped being a show. The cameras cut away to the crowd, showing fans with their hands over their mouths, some of them in tears. This was where legends are made, but tonight, it felt like where a career was ended in the most brutal way possible. I need a second to process this, guys. My heart is pounding against my ribs. If you're as shocked as I am by what we're seeing, please, take a moment. Hit that like button, subscribe to SLAMZONE, and join the family for more intense wrestling breakdowns every week. We're about to get to the part that changes everything, and you don't want to miss a second of this. As security finally tackled Heyman to the ground, he wasn't fighting them, he was laughing. A manic, high-pitched cackle that filled the arena. They had to use 4 men to pin him down, and even then, he was staring at the broken body of Adam Pearce with a sense of triumph. But then came the twist. The moment that moved this from a physical assault to a total destruction of the WWE hierarchy. As the medics were loading Adam Pearce onto a stretcher, a man walked out from the back. It wasn't Nick Aldis. It wasn't a member of the Bloodline. It was a lawyer, a man in a sharp, gray suit carrying a briefcase. He walked right past the chaos, right past the blood on the mat, and handed a document to the lead security officer. The officer read it, looked at Heyman, and then, he let him go. The security guards backed off. The crowd let out a collective what that shook the rafters. Heyman stood up, smoothed out his hair, and took the document from the lawyer. He walked over to the stretcher where Pearce was being fitted with an oxygen mask. Heyman leaned in, close enough that his breath must have fogged up the mask. He didn't use a microphone, but the ringside mics caught it. "You forgot the fine print, Adam," Heyman whispered, his voice cold as ice. "My contract wasn't with WWE. My contract was with the board of directors personally, and according to this injunction, I don't just work here. As of 30 seconds ago, since you are physically unable to perform your duties, I am the acting general manager of Monday Night Raw." The revelation was like a physical blow to the audience. The silence was replaced by a low, vibrating growl of anger from 20,000 people. Heyman had baited him. He had lured Pearce into a situation where he could physically incapacitate him, knowing that the legal loophole he'd spent months preparing would trigger a succession clause. He didn't just destroy Adam Pearce's body, he destroyed his life's work. He stole his job while the man was being carried out on a board. Heyman stood in the center of the ring, the blood of the former GM still on his shirt, and he raised his arms. He didn't need the Ula Fala. He didn't need Roman Reigns. In that moment, Paul Heyman was the most powerful man in the building. He looked at the camera and said 3 words that will haunt this brand for the rest of the year: "I'm in charge." The pacing of the show completely halted. The matches that were supposed to happen were forgotten. The locker room was shown on the big screen, and the faces of the superstars said it all. Fear. Pure fear. They knew that if Heyman could do this to the man in charge, none of them were safe. Cody Rhodes was shown looking at the screen with a look of disgusted disbelief. Seth Rollins was backstage, leaning against a wall, shaking his head. The vision of a fair Raw was dead. As the show went off the air, Heyman was still standing there. He didn't leave. He watched as they wheeled Pearce out through the tunnel. He watched the light fade from the arena. He was a king standing on a mountain of rubble. This is the most legendary, most terrifying shift in power we have ever seen. We've seen takeovers before. We've seen the NWO, we've seen the Nexus, we've seen the Alliance. But those were outside forces. This is the monster inside the house. This is the man who knows where all the bodies are buried, finally being given the keys to the graveyard. What happens next? Does Nick Aldis try to retaliate on SmackDown? Or is he too afraid that Heyman has a legal trap waiting for him as well? And what about the Bloodline? Did they know this was coming? Was this the plan all along, to have their wise man become the ultimate authority figure so they never have to defend their titles again? The energy in the wrestling world has been permanently altered. This wasn't just a spicy moment, this was a total eclipse. Adam Pearce is in a local medical facility, but the brand he loved is in the hands of a madman. Thank you for staying with me through this breakdown. I know it was intense, and I know it was a lot to take in. This is why we watch. This is why we care. This is the raw, bleeding heart of professional wrestling. Before we head out, please hit that like button, subscribe to SLAMZONE, and join the family for more intense wrestling breakdowns every week. I want to hear from you in the comments. Is there any way back for Adam Pearce? Who can stop Paul Heyman now that he has the law on his side? Give me your theories, give me your anger, give me your passion. This is SLAMZONE, where the truth is often more brutal than the fiction. Keep your eyes open, because under the Heyman era, nothing is what it seems. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, and keep the faith.